Hey, before I go any further, let me make sure you know about Rebel News Live. That's our day-long conference in Calgary this Saturday. We did it in Toronto last Saturday. It was amazing. We had more than 750 people buy tickets. Most of those were in person, but we also had a Zoom ticket. You could watch the whole proceedings from home. If you are in Calgary or indeed anywhere in Alberta, you got to be there. It's going to be amazing. We've got about a dozen of the most interesting speakers. For example, Arthur Pawlowski, the pastor who refused to close his church and was thrown in prison for almost 50 days. We have the trucker lawyer, Chad Williamson. We've got so many interesting speakers. Conrad Black from the Democracy Fund. He's the historian for civil liberties. He's going to be talking. It's going to be a great day. Light breakfast to start, a lunch. There's so much going on. I'll be there. So many Rebel News journalists. Go to rebelnewslive.com to learn more. Don't mind me making that advertising plug. I just have to say, it was an amazing feeling being among so many friends, and I hope you can make it. Okay, let's get back to the news today. I think the news for the rest of the week is going to be this Trucker Commission of Inquiry. How could it not be? It's been police until now saying the same thing 100 times. There was no policing requirement to bring in martial law. Regular policing powers was more than enough, and the obvious proof of that is the bridge between Windsor and Detroit. The blockade there was removed peacefully in 2 days without martial law. The blockade at the Coutts border between Alberta and Montana was ended peacefully without the Emergencies Act martial law. Not a single police force in the country said they needed it or said they asked for it. It's been interesting testimony, but it's been repetitive. Now that's changing because we're not talking about cops who are hopefully loyal to their oath. We're talking about politicians who are scared of being exposed as power-hungry tyrants, which they have been. Marco Mendicino, the Public Safety Minister, David Lametti, the Justice Minister. But in addition to their testimony, what this Commission of Inquiry is doing is producing documents that the lawyers, both for the Commission and interveners like the JCCF and the Democracy Fund, these lawyers get privileged access to these documents in advance from which they can form their questions for these witnesses. And the reason that's important, if you were just talking to the Minister of Public Safety about the Emergencies Act, you could ask general questions, but by seeing their internal records first, you could zero in on particular things. It makes it much more useful, and it's fascinating to see. These documents are posted to the Public Commission's website, and this document I'm going to focus on today is a text message exchange between David Lametti, the Justice Minister, and Marco Mendicino, the Public Safety Minister. And the reason it's so fascinating is what they said. But an extra layer of fascinating is that we would never normally see this. As you know, Rebel News files a lot of access to information requests with the government. But there's a lot of exemptions in access to information requests. One of them is that the political staff and the political communications of the Prime Minister's office and the cabinet ministers and MPs, that is not disclosable under an access to information request. You cannot know what an MP is texting with his staff. You just cannot get it. But this is not an access to information request. This is a subpoena by a judge in a judicial inquiry, and you've got to hand it over. This is very rare that you see this kind of internal chit-chat like that. And of course, it's where the real stuff is. An official memo is written thinking, well, this may well be seen by either many people in private or in public. An official memo is probably written with the help of professional staff, but a text message between a couple of cabinet ministers, they're going to speak very plainly. They'll say things that they never in a million years would imagine to be showed in public. Well, let me show you this text message exchange between Lametti and Mendicino. You need to get the police to move. Oh, I didn't know that politicians directed the police. At least they're not supposed to in a democracy. And the Canadian Armed Forces if necessary. Oh, really? So we deploy our military against peaceful domestic citizens. Our military that's trained to kill enemy soldiers designed to fight foreign governments. We're going to deploy that against bouncy castles and hot tubs, are we? Against men, women, and children, are we? Completely peaceful. Order the cops to intervene. Order the army to intervene. Too many people are being seriously adversely impacted by what is an occupation. I'm getting out as soon as I can. What a courageous man, our Justice Minister. He's so courageous. He's panicking and he's going to flee the city, so bravely run away. People are looking to us, you, for leadership, and not stupid people. People like Carney, Kath, my team. Oh, they're the smartest. Carney, I take it that's Mark Carney. Mark Carney, formerly the head of the Bank of England. Mark Carney now works for the United Nations. Mark Carney has no standing. He's not a Canadian official at all. He's not an elected official. He's not a cabinet minister. He's not a judge. He's just some politician. He's some globalist who works for, frankly, the UN. Who cares what he says? What does the Canadian Constitution say about freedom of speech? Who cares that some globalist who doesn't have any roots in Canada, who's flying around the world working for the UN, who cares what he says? And Kath? Is that Catherine McKenna? Is that what Lametti thinks is a smart person? And in response, Mendicino says, how many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita, that's Anita Anand, the defense minister, how many we've got on hand. I reckon one will do. Yeah, because, of course, you probably wouldn't shoot a tank in Ottawa. It would blow things up. You would, if you really seriously deployed a tank, you would probably do it. What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.